fourth graders, I am here with your reading and your writing lesson for the week. So this week, we're not going to have two separate reading and writing videos. We're just going to have them mushed into one because Miss Davy Duke and I have worked together to kind of create a poetry unit that we are going to be using for both reading and writing in the coming weeks, all the way to the end of the year. So I personally am really excited about this because I love poetry. Poetry has always been something that I really love and enjoy and adore and appreciate. I really admire great poets who just kind of have like a way with words and are just able to they're like painting pictures with words, right? They're artists with a pencil. And it really just makes me really excited to start this unit with you. I'm really bummed that we won't be able to do this in person and I won't be able to kind of work with you on your poems one-on-one, side-by-side. I'm going to do my best to try and do that virtually with you, as I have been over the last couple of weeks with students. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So you should have in your work packet a section that looks like this. Okay, so let me close that window real quick. So it should say reading and writing poetry unit. Woohoo! You will see kind of the announcements and way the assignments are going to be going, and I'm going to go through that actually right now. So this month we're going to be focusing on writing lots of different types of poems. Let me put myself back up there. So here's how it works. Every week, you will get 2 types of poems to focus on, okay? So each type of poem will come with instructions, and then it'll also give you some example poems. Some of them will have 1, 2, 3 example poems to kind of help inspire you, to help you get your creative juices flowing, to show you what this type of poem might look like in written form. So what you'll need to do is go to the section, find the 2 poems and read the instructions for each poem and then the example poems. Then you are going to use the 2 blank pages behind each poem in your packet to write at least 2 of each kind of poem. So for this week, for instance, we have an acrostic poem and a Cinquain poem. And you are going to write 2 of each kind of poem. So you're going to write 2 acrostics, 2 Cinquains. So you got 4 poems total. Okay. You're obviously welcome to write even more. I got started writing my own Cinquains and I couldn't stop. It was just so quick and easy and fun, and really got kind of my brain juices flowing. And then after you're done with your poems, I would really like you to include an illustration. So if you're typing this poem out on the computer and that's something that you want to do, totally great. Your illustration can be just like a picture you find off the internet, or like a clip art that you can find on your word processing word processing application. Or you can also hand draw them. So if you're using the printed pages in your printed work packet that I distributed to you, then you can just go ahead and hand draw that in that little kind of box area for that illustration. And that should be something that has to do with your poem, right? So if your poem is, say, about Martin Luther King Jr., then your picture should be of something Martin Luther King Jr. stood for, or of Martin Luther King Jr., right? If you're writing a poem about a protest, then your illustration should be a picture of a protest or a sign at a protest, right? So make sure your illustrations match your poems. And then again, when you're all finished, quick reminder, take a photo of your poems and then turn them into me. I really want to stress this week, I really want to read your poems. Again, poetry is something that makes me so excited, and I really want you to share your work with me. Please, okay? It's not going to be like graded or anything like that. It's not going to get like an A, B, or whatever, or a check or a check plus or whatever. I just want to read your poem, and I will give you some feedback telling you what you did well. Maybe like one thing that maybe you could like tweak and change to make it a little bit better. But I just want to read your ideas, read about your feelings, read about your stories. Okay. So share them with me. Okay, so our first poem that we're going to focus on this week is called an acrostic poem. An acrostic poem is a poem that goes down and then across. So you're probably familiar with these acrostic poems. It's not something like brand new, hopefully in your schooling experience. The poems don't have to rhyme. And they can have as many words as you want. You can just have one word that matches that letter, or you can have a whole sentence that matches that letter. Okay. You can choose any subject that you like, even your name. However, I do want to encourage you to write an acrostic poem that has to do with what we talked about in our social studies lesson. So if you haven't watched a social studies lesson yet, I highly encourage you to do that first and then come back and then do your writing. The poems that you will see, the example poems rather that you will see for this week do have to do with what's been going on in our country. And so I would really highly encourage all of you to do the same. So first example poem, right? We're talking about an acrostic poem. So again, if you're looking on the left side, all of the capitalized letters for every single one of these lines actually spells something. So this person, Kathy Harrelson, wanted to write a poem titled End Prejudice. So her acrostic, here it says end. And then if you read all of these lines from top to bottom, it says prejudice. And for each one of those lines, each one of those letters, she wrote a phrase or a sentence that has to do with this idea of ending prejudice, end prejudice. Okay, so E, everyone matters. No one should be excluded. Diversity makes life better. Persevere in hope. Relationships bridge differences. Everyone should work to end prejudice. Justice demands opportunities for all. You, as in you, and I are more similar than we are different. Don't stand by or stand still. I want to be part of the change. Courage is needed for change. Everyone matters. So every single one of those phrases or sentences has to do with this big idea, end prejudice. Beautiful, beautiful poem. And again, a picture included, right? That has to do with ending prejudice. This next poem is a poem that's actually written by a young girl. She's a student, I don't know what age, but I found her, Miss David Duke actually found her reading her poem via this link here. So if you click on this link, I think you might need a Facebook account because I think it's a Facebook video. But you can click on that link and see her actually read her own poem. But I copied it down here for you just in case you're not able to view that link. So her poem is titled Black Lives Matter. Black people are cool. Lives matter, even though we're not the same color. All people should live, not die. Come pray with me. Kings live to be brave. Live and love before you die. Intelligent, using our minds to escape. Value lives as if it were your own. Everybody exists in me. Small, tiny children running away. Maybe you could help someday. Allow me in your life to explain. The people get up and fight, taking back my rights. Eek, here they come. Roar, we should stand up for ourselves. So really, really beautiful poem. It's even more beautiful when she reads it herself. But your task this week is to write your own acrostic poem. Again, having to do with what's been happening around our country. Maybe you might choose a word like justice or peace, or no justice, no peace, right? You can get real creative with it. So that there are 2 blank pages here for you. Again, the illustration goes in the box. The lines are for the acrostic poem itself. The second poem is called a Cinquain poem. I think that's how you say it. Cinquain is a special kind of 5-line poem with a very strict form. So line 1 is the subject of the poem or the topic that you're talking about, and it's a noun. So a noun, right, is a person, a place, or a thing. Then the second line is going to be adjectives, so words that describe that noun. The next line, so line 3, are 3 words expressing that action. So these are verbs that have ing at the very end. So you'll see in my examples what I mean by that. So they're action words with ing. So like walking, marching, talking, eating, right? So words that are action words, so verbs with ing at the end. Line 4 are 4 words expressing a feeling. So it could be a short phrase, just kind of having to do with that whole topic. And then line 5 is 1 word that's another word for the subject. So a synonym for that noun that you used in line 1. So for instance, these are some example poems that I wrote that are Cinquains that have to do kind of with what we're talking about in our social studies lesson and what's going on around the world. So Breonna Taylor, person, noun. Kind, hardworking, words that describe Breonna Taylor. Helping, loving, becoming. So things that she's doing, right? She was doing. She didn't deserve this. 4 words, short phrase. Healer, a synonym or another way to say Breonna Taylor, right? She was an EMT, she worked in healthcare, she was a healer. Protesters, here's a second poem. Peaceful, disruptive, organizing, marching, demanding, bringing attention to injustice, advocates. Okay, so really simple poem, but I think really powerful, right? It also really helps us get think creatively about the things that we want to talk about, and think about how we can express those ideas in this very strict form of poetry. Okay, so that's kind of all I have for reading and writing. Again, all of that is printed in your work packet, so please take a look at that. And please, please, please send me your poems. I want to see them. I want to see them. I want to see them. I can't say that enough. So I will see you all soon. Please stay well and stay safe.